here's Brody Brazil.
Well, this is no doubt a video looking both back and forward at the hockey career of Erik Karlsson. But right here, right now, in this moment, there's nothing more important to mention than this. A huge congratulations, as he has just locked down Norris Trophy number 3. That's right, the award that goes to the defensive player who demonstrates throughout the season the greatest all-around ability in the position. Karlsson did it twice earlier in his career with the Ottawa Senators, and now for the first time as a San Jose Shark. I mean, it's just a nice individual accomplishment. Sure, hockey's about the Stanley Cup, but something like the Norris is part of a legacy. And especially with this trajectory. Karlsson won it twice early on in his career, and some might think and say that after 2012 and 15, if you don't win another one in 16, 17, or 18, you may never have the opportunity to do it again. And that's just simple. Players get older, maybe they peak at a certain point. I think it's special to look back at the difference between 2012 and 2023, like 11 seasons in between, and also 2015 and 2023. 8 seasons in between there. That's a significant gap of time that Karlsson was, well, let's just say, not considered among the elite blue liners in the NHL. And yes, I also understand that we'll get into how he won the Norris and what constitutes a Norris Trophy winner. Is it the most offensive defenseman in the league? Is it simply the biggest point getter in the league? Should it be the guy who's hardest to go up against and score against? Does plus minus have anything to do with it? Doesn't matter right now. I think that's an apples and oranges conversation until there's a most offensive and most defensive defenseman of the year award. Until that's separated into two, the Norris is what we have, and Erik Karlsson has now won it 3 times. But again, the trajectory for EK65, pretty special with that significant gap. And let's also throw this in there too. Karlsson in Nashville, not only to receive the Norris Trophy, but being a finalist for the Ted Lindsay Award, which may not be something on every hockey fan's radar. I mean, it could and should be, but the deeper hockey fans know this. It's awarded annually to the National Hockey League's most outstanding player in the regular season, but here's the key part, as judged by members of the NHLPA. That's right, Karlsson's own peers voting on this Ted Lindsay Award. And I think just to be in the same conversation as Connor McJesus and Pasta, right? I mean, look at the company that Karlsson was with for the Ted Lindsay Award. I think even being in that consideration is the same accomplishment, the same type of recognition, I know, as winning the Norris Trophy, because let's be honest, EK65, about halfway to 2/3 of the way through the season, very much emerged as the favorite for the Norris. He had that amazing pace. He never stopped. He eclipsed 100 points. He kept it going. And so let's dive into that. The remarkable run that was Karlsson's last season. There are a couple big points to make here, beginning with he played in all 82 of the Sharks games last season. Now, here's a guy who with groin injuries and a wrist injury, or I think it was a forearm injury. I mean, he's had ailments all top to bottom along the body. And for whatever reason, across the last couple seasons, never played more than 50 to 60 games. There was always something that had him sidelined, and not necessarily things that you could even predict. Hit by a puck, different kind of fluky incidents and injuries that cost EK65 playing time. But all 82 games for the first time in a long time this last season. So if there was any question about durability, longevity, his age at now 33, all of that can be answered with playing in every single Shark game from last season. I also love, of the 101 points, the way it was distributed. 25 goals, 76 helpers. To say that it's not 90 assists and 10 goals, or even 60 goals and only 40-something helpers, 41 helpers, that's just a nice spread for a defenseman. About 1/4 of the points scored on goals, the rest all on assists. And I would tell you this, I didn't even look up the difference between primary and secondary assists, but a lot of his helpers were of the primary variety. There's also the fact that 74 of his 101 points were scored at even strength. So, of course, he benefited a certain degree in the power play, but he's not like a lot of the star players in this league who get a majority of their points on the man advantage. Karlsson, again, only at 74 of 101 of his points, or I should say 74 of 101 came at even strength. Only 27 of them came on the power play. Is that math right? Yeah, 90. Yeah, 27. Sorry, doing it on the fly. Not to mention that across this last season, he changed defensive partners a number of different times. Look, he's a professional. He should be able to adapt. But it's not like he had the steady hand of whoever riding along with him the entire season. He also lost scoring targets as the season went on. Most notably, when Timo Meier got traded to the New Jersey Devils. Timo on that 40-goal pace season for the year, which he did accomplish. But to not be able to set up number 28 like he had been up until that point, it had a lot of fans questioning, well, is Karlsson now going to get to 100? He doesn't have the 1-2 punch with Timo Meier. He's not going to be able to assist and facilitate all the Timo goals. How's it going to go? And there were questions the entire season. I mean, for Karlsson, number one is, can he sustain this? And he did. And then it was, well, how is he doing this? Is it because Brent Burns is no longer a Shark? And not to make it personal, but just more of an opportunity standpoint. He was playing, 25 minutes and change time on ice per game. Was it just more offensive opportunity? Could he be that guy to make the plays that, we know he's capable of, all those stretch passes? And not to mention all of that going along with the team struggles, right? So Erik Karlsson not on a team that was rolling. In fact, the Sharks finishing with the 4th worst record in the NHL. That makes it a lot tougher. When you're not surrounded by as many targets throughout the course of the season, it's harder to be the guy and keep your point total going. I'm not saying anybody necessarily checked out on the year, but it just makes it all more of an uphill grind for Karlsson to do what he did last season. It truly was a remarkable run, and there is a historical sense to all of this. He's one of only 6 all-time D-men in the NHL to reach 100 points in a season. And I think the time prior that it happened was 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago. It's a new Sharks season record for points by a defenseman at 101. And you look back at his game log last year, 30 multi-point games and also 5 4-point games. I mean, a 4-point night for a defenseman. What an amazing night. He did that more times last season than he did in his entire career combined. I'm pretty sure that before last year, he had only 4 4-point games ever. And then last year, 5 4-point games in the single season alone. But 30 multi-point games. Nearly half of the games he played in, he had multiple points. Curtis and I joked on a lot of the pregame shows, well, is Karlsson putting on the skates tonight? Okay, great. He's going to at least score a point somehow, some way. Just an amazing effort by Erik Karlsson. And so now it kind of brings us into the contract and the contractual situation here. 8 years, $92 million is what he signed back in June of 2019. 4 years remain on that contract, and the cap hit is at $11.5 million per season for the rest of it. He's 33 years old right now, and just looking at the NHL's team salary cap, it's only up another million above 83. I think is it 83.5? Did I get that wrong? $83.5 million cap for 2023-2024. So the last couple years, we've not seen the cap go up by multi-millions of dollars. It's only gone up, I think, $1 million each of the last few years. And that kind of constricts a team like the San Jose Sharks, who still have a couple of big contracts they're trying to restructure. There's no question about it. The talks about trading Erik Karlsson have existed, throughout the entirety of last season into this summer. I know before and after the draft, the draft is right around the corner now, but this is also going to continue to be a conversation. This is not going to escape Karlsson, and especially because of the last season that he just had, right? You got to strike while the iron is hot. He just advertised himself in a way that's no better way to advertise yourself than what he just did. But it brings this dilemma. I can't imagine the Sharks last season and how things would have gone without Erik Karlsson. I cannot imagine the Sharks without Erik Karlsson last season. I really can't. 4th worst record with him and a 101-point season. What would it have been like without him? But in that same breath, I think we all realize it's in everybody's best interest to get him traded and moved on as soon as possible. This is such a rarity in sports that you could even say it like this in an honest way, in a straightforward way, and with no hard feelings. Usually a trade comes with animosity and, personal conflict, some type of rub. The player doesn't like a coach, or the fans don't like the player, or whatever. Two players don't like each other. In this case, I don't think there's any hard feelings at all. He looks at his age. He looks where the Sharks are at. He's also complimented where the Sharks are at. They're going to be fine, and they're in the right direction right now. Problem is, his clock at 33 and counting is not getting any younger. And he's also said that he loves the Bay Area. This is where his kids were born. Optimally, he wouldn't want to change his situation one bit, but he also realizes this is the one chance in life to try and be successful and be on a winner. And so I think it just needs to be said at this point, to nobody's surprise, great for Erik Karlsson, just won a Norris Trophy. Great accomplishment, great advertisement. And I don't say this lightly, and I don't say this with any joy or pride. It's probably time for the Sharks to figure out exactly what they can get for him and then what they can do with that salary cap space, right? Because for San Jose, it's all about, number one, creating the space. But then number two, what are you going to do with it down the road to shape and mold your future team and the players you want, or the players you want to keep, the players you want to bring up? The next core of Team Teal relies on having some type of salary cap flexibility. Now, for the Sharks, who they trade Karlsson to, I don't know. Who's interested? I don't want to even start that rumor mill or have that conversation and speculate. But obviously a valuable player who proved it last year. He's got the hardware, again, on his resume. It's really a matter, I think, of what the Sharks retain on his contract and what they're actually willing to get in return or not get in return. Is this all about trading Karlsson for the space and maybe some picks and a next season ready player? I don't know. But I think a large part of it is the San Jose side of the deal. Karlsson is a big puzzle piece. He'll fit well somewhere. It's just a big piece and a unique piece. And even more unique because he's got another Norris Trophy. And I want to circle back to that as the main point of this video. Congratulations, Erik Karlsson.